Hi, folks, and welcome to the SEV Leadership and Business Solutions podcast. I'm Paul Raggio.
And I am Lisa Raggio, and we are happy to be here today to be talking to you about the things that we can look forward to in 2021. We are so happy to have a special guest with us today, Jeffrey Forrest from College of the Canyons. We're going to be interviewing him. But with that, Paul, tell us a little bit more about our podcast.
Yeah, as a routine part of our podcast, we usually talk about a leadership tip in the beginning and at the closing after our guest interview. And so we really wanted to start out, and we feel it's important that there's an acknowledgement of what's been happening in our capital. And before the podcast started, I was sharing with Jeffrey. Both of us have had experience on Capitol Hill. I had 6 years working there, so I was really distraught about the events that occurred and understanding how hallowed those halls are, and just the representation that that Capitol building has, not only to the unification of the United States, but to the democracies worldwide. And so it's something that I firmly believe we as citizens just can't allow to happen again. Something has to be done. So that was my first thought on it. And then we'll do an introduction of Jeffrey here in a minute and ask him for his thoughts on it. But the second thing that I wanted to talk to in terms of leadership tips would be at the end of the interview. And that'll be a little bit more playful, but Jeff is a big fisherman. And so the title of that is called Fish or Cut Bait, and we'll share that at the conclusion. Lisa, why don't you introduce Jeff?
I am very happy to do so. Jeffrey Forrest serves as Vice President of Economic Development for College of the Canyons, which focuses on aligning career and technical education programs with the needs of industry while offering job training for minorities, women, veterans, and dislocated workers. In addition, Jeffrey oversees a number of business units dedicated to providing companies with training resources for growing their business. In this role, Jeffrey has created partnerships with hundreds of companies, community-based organizations, government entities throughout Southern California to advance the efforts of the community college in providing workforce development solutions that lead to economic growth and prosperity for the region. In August 2017, Jeffrey co-founded the Strong Workforce Apprentice Group. I'm excited to hear more about that. I know we've talked about it in the past. SWAG partners with employers to fill their critical needs through apprenticeship, and more than 80% of its current apprentices are minorities, women, or veterans. Because of its success in March 2018, Jeffrey was invited to testify on Capitol Hill on the benefits of apprenticeship to small business. Jeff believes that providing access to quality education is critical to creating strong communities and key to the long-term growth of the nation's economy. He has a bachelor's degree in finance from the University of Missouri, St. Louis, and an MBA from Lindenwood University. So welcome, Jeff, to our podcast.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Paul. So glad to be with you today.
Absolutely. And this gives us an opportunity to share your insights with our listeners. And we always start everything, whether it's a person, place, or thing or project, with why. So we would ask you in regards to the work that you're doing now, why you do it, why you're passionate about it, and whatever you'd like to share in regards to how you're serving the Santa Clarita Valley now.
Sure. And so the Economic Development Division at College of the Canyons, its goal is to provide customized, flexible, accelerated programming solutions for companies that are looking to upskill their workforce and to invest in their people. We believe that the bottom line to a company's bottom line is having qualified people who are excited to be a part of their companies and who are there to be committed to that company's profitability and doing the best job that they can possibly do. And we believe also that training is essential to making that happen for these companies. Now, here's our why. We are also involved in equity. Equity and diversity are a core principle of everything that we do in our interactions with companies, with the community, with organizations such as Action Coaching and others. Equity, diversity, making sure that everyone has access to opportunity is what we're all about. And our why is we believe that everyone, regardless of their background, has the potential to do extraordinary things. The goal of the Economic Development Division at COC is to provide them with the resources to make that happen. And so that's what we're all about, is making sure that everyone who wants to improve their life through skills development, through acquiring that dream job, that we can be a partner in helping them to do that, while at the same time helping our companies be more competitive in this ever-changing global economy.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
Well said.
Yeah, that's expansive, Jeff, and I mean, it's a great and noble cause, really, to help the business community. I did want to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about current events and get your thoughts. I mean, you and I have very similar values and backgrounds. We've known each other for a while now, and so I think it would be important to share some of those thoughts.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that question. And first of all, I want to extend my personal condolences and sympathies to the families, especially those who have lost loved ones. And then there are those who are looking at those who have been hospitalized and or have been injured, one being a Capitol Hill police officer and having a son who is a police officer. That really hit home with me. I walked those halls as an invited guest of Congress. And I remember getting that feeling of awe that I was in a very special place. And when I saw what I saw, my heart was breaking, to be frank. I was very, very troubled at what I saw, because I felt that something sacred was being defiled. I felt that something special was being thrown away. And it really, really gnawed at me. And without getting into the politics of it all, what really struck me was the idea that in a time like this, when we're dealing with a pandemic, when we're dealing with all kinds of other crises that we're facing, that no time has been more important for us to come together as a nation than now. And so what I'm hoping is that in spite of this very tragic and very troublesome event that occurred, that it will lead us, all of us, no matter what our political backgrounds are, to come together and unite as a nation, because the world looks to us to model democracy and equality and equity. They look to us and they point to us. We must recapture that honor. We must reclaim being that city on a hill, so that other nations, when they talk about what real democracy looks like, they're talking about the United States. And it's going to take work, but I believe now is the time for us to come together, more now than ever.
Yeah, well, couldn't agree more, Jeff. Well said. And, you know, Paul and I both talk about this is a leadership and business solutions podcast. So it's important for us also to be responsible in what it is that we share with any listener that we have. And we feel so passionate and strongly about what it is that we have the potential. You talked about potential just a few minutes ago. We look through the lens of how we can maximize the potential. And I choose to look at this as a time in which we could embark upon transformation and how we can take from where we've come to what we could be and maximize our potential. There's that wonderful that was seen in Lion King when the father says to the son, "You are more than what you have become." I feel that so strongly now, and it resonates with me that we all can, as you said, come together and work towards what we can become in light of this.
Yes, we have more in common than we have differences. And I think that we need to get away from the tail wagging the dog and make sure that we all find this common ground that binds us. And that common ground is that we are a part of the United States of America and the greatest democracy in human history. And that calls for us, as you said, Lisa, to be responsible in making sure that we are sensitive to and cognizant of those whose opinions may be different from our own, and being respectful of everyone. And I believe that that is all critical, but I also believe that United States is going to make one of the greatest comebacks ever. We've done it before. We made a great comeback after we were bombed in Pearl Harbor. We responded, and we will respond again. And I think that we will become a better nation for it.
Yeah, there's a cruciality in leadership, and I know, Jeff, the three of us have talked in the past about there being a void. We sense a void, whether it's at the local level, state, federal level, but we do sense a void in leadership and leadership skill training, getting directly to what the College of the Canyons does. And we advocate, and we've written articles about this, really the essentiality of leadership is dependent upon a person of character, that they have vision, and that they're able to clearly, directly, purposefully, and inspirationally communicate what that vision is. And so those are skills that can be taught, but they also have to be something that there's a commitment to it. And that's what we find often lacking, that self-interest overcomes the interest or the betterment of, for in this case, the nation, and what should be happening in the nation. So we felt it was important that we at least talked a little bit about this. These are consequential events that occurred this past week, and just like we want to remain very positive about what we project as outcomes of it, that it's going to be unifying and not dividing in our country going forward.
Yes,
Absolutely.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's ask you a little bit more too about the great work that you're doing at College of the Canyons. And I think what would be enlightening to our listeners too is how your work was impacted by COVID, and if you pivoted, what you had to do to pivot, and how you're looking at. Boy, you're a great person to ask. Give us some inspiration in regards to 2021 and what's to come.
Sure. So we were definitely impacted, like all organizations and companies and entities, by COVID-19. And when I think about the work that we do, it is high contact, high engagement. We do workforce training. We visit companies. We go into those companies and actually run our courses inside the locations of the various corporate clients that we serve throughout the Santa Clarita region. And so we were obviously somewhat set back by the presence of COVID-19. So what we had to do in terms of a pivot, because it was not optional, we had to pivot. And there are three things that I'd like to kind of bring up as components of our pivot. I did these in a webinar that I did some months ago, but I think that they're relevant for this discussion today. One, we crafted a new vision of working under COVID. What does the Economic Development Division look like? And so we went from this more menu-driven programmatic approach to delivering training to companies to what I call an a la carte programmatics version of working with companies, in which we said to companies, tell us exactly what you need to help you respond to COVID, and we will do what we can to deliver that for you. So it wasn't, oh, here's a training course in this, or here's a workshop in this. It was, you're in the midst of a crisis. That crisis is causing your business to struggle. What do you need now? Do you need people now? Then we'll work with you on getting people. Do you need training in a specific area with regards to safety? Well, we have healthcare workers and individuals who can help with that. Do you need a PPP loan for your business? We can help with that. Whatever it is that you need based on the current situation that you're going through, let us know what that is, and we will serve you from that particular standpoint without there having to be this idea of signing a contract for courses and things of that nature. We got away from that. And so this a la carte system really worked for us. And eventually it did lead to training and courses and things of that nature, where I found myself delivering textbooks to companies so that their employees could take our classes, delivering resources because they could not come to. And so we had to go to them, and we became this kind of as you would say, you have all of these companies that like DoorDash and Uber and Lyft. We became kind of a Lyft of workforce development, in which we come to you to give you exactly what you want. And we believe that that model is going to be with us for some time to come. So that was our vision. And then we went into virtualization. We migrated all of our training online. And so that allowed us to provide access to those companies who did feel that training courses were something that they could value at this time as they go through this pandemic. And then thirdly, we valued our customers. We made sure that they understood whatever it is we could do for them, we were going to be there for them. And so there was vision, virtualization, and valuing. Those were the three components of our pivot. And while we are grateful that we've been able to stay out there in the minds of our various constituencies, we're not satisfied yet, because there are still companies that are struggling. There are still companies that are regrettably having to close their doors. And so that hurts us. We are not pleased with that. And we won't be satisfied until every company that wants to stay in business is able to do so. So we still have a lot of work to do, but we're inspired. And what I see happening is this, that as we look at 2021, there's a couple of things that really come to mind. One is this, that virtualization of the business model is going to be a permanent component and aspect of how companies do business, whether you are a restaurant or whether you are a hotel or whether you are a manufacturer. Virtualization is here to stay. The second thing is this, that companies need to begin now the work of preparing for what's going to be perhaps one of the greatest consumer bumps in 10 to 15 years, certainly since the Great Recession of 2008 to 2009, in which all of this pent up demand that has taken place over the last year, and it'll be 16 to 17 months, probably by the time we get the okay to go out and really access services and restaurants and things of that nature. When that happens, these companies need to be thinking now about their work, their work schedules, their plans, their staffing plans, their cash flow plans. They need to be thinking about their inventory. They need to be thinking about the hours of operation, and then how to best manage that so that they can provide a level of experience that the customer will benefit from. We just don't want to see a consumer bump and yet do not have the ability to meet the demand from that bump. We
Or
want to make sure we can meet
sustainability.
exactly,
Yeah.
because we don't know how long that bump will last. And so we're going to have this situation where companies are going to see customers they've never seen before, or they haven't seen in a year. Well, they want those customers to come back. Well, you need to be thinking about your plan now as to how you're going to make sure that you deliver such service and quality to that customer experience that they have no choice but to come back. That's what we see happening. And that's the kind of planning companies need to be doing right now. You can't do it when you've got 50 people in knocking on your door and you only got room to seat 40. You need to buy chairs for the outside and
Yeah.
awnings and things of that nature. You need to be thinking about all of those things now.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff, I want to pick apart a couple of things that you said because I think they're
Sure,
just really valuable lessons for our audience.
sure.
And that's first, when you encounter this crisis, in this case, the pandemic, but you encounter a crisis. I know you've had other crises in your past business experiences, even your own business. But the
Yes,
first thing that you wanted to do is look at the environment and, I use this term often, but adapt, improvise, and overcome. That's exactly what you were doing. You had to reshape whatever it is that you were intending to do, and you did that in terms of your vision. So you brought that forth in a vision statement because that sets the directional path of the organization and where it's going. It's crucial to be
yes,
able to do that. And that's an area that we see a lot of businesses struggle with. They don't know how to define or clarify what that vision is, which then gives resonance to their mission statement and how they're going to achieve their vision. That's one. The second thing is that I think is just a really powerful message that we certainly have been trying to put out there is don't squander this time right now to position yourself to take advantage of this explosive economic activity that is for sure to come, and it's going to
yes.
start at the beginning of summer. And so when Jeff is talking about do your detailed planning now, think through what needs to be done. How are you going to do that? How are you going to develop the muscle that you've developed over this pandemic period? And how is that going to translate into whatever your new business offerings are? Because it's important that this subject is really viewed by business owners today and exploited.
Mm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think one of the things that's key as well, Paul, is this, that many of the businesses that are operating now are being ran by their owners and a
Mhm.
couple of family members. And I'm speaking to restaurants now, if I may, and to some retail perhaps, such as our coffee shops. And I'm not talking about the big franchisers. I'm talking about the smaller ones like that are here in the Santa Cruz area. These companies are being, and so by the time we get to that consumer bump in June, July, and especially August, they're tired. They've
Yeah,
been working for a year by themselves, 60 and 70 hours a week. They need to be thinking about how they can get some time off and some time away by bringing on people now. I know it's difficult, but you need to be thinking about how you're going to be able to manage you, because
right.
these owners are already working crazy hours trying to stay alive, and then you're going to get a bump and you won't be able to have any time away, and that's going to create some serious issues mentally, emotionally, in relationships and families. All of that needs to be contextualized in your planning that you should be doing now. Please don't wait till June to plan for a summer bump. You
Mm.
need to find professional coaching, someone who can provide an outside lens to help you kind of navigate this planning process so that you'll be ready and prepared for what's going to be coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jeff, a point well taken because I appreciate you including their own gaining some kind of respite during the time so that they're ready. This is an endurance event. We keep on talking about that. We are in an endurance event. And if anybody's trained for an endurance event, you know what you have to do as far as self-care and making sure that you're properly training with what it is that your regimen is, your nutritional intake, all of those things, because you're going for the long haul. You're going for the end game. And the other thing is that I would just add to that eloquent point is the mindset of asking for help, of looking at this as an opportunity that, as you said, most business owners, it could be a family run business, but they have this specialty, this area, this unique service or sales proposition that they have. They produce a high quality product. Well, I mean, most of us haven't been educated in regards to how to run the business. So it's an opportunity to really be open to the possibility that someone can help you through this. I mean, i.e. Paul and I, and you yourself for what it is that you do working with business owners and businesses too, is that mindset is so important in regards to having it be an endurance event. And I just in my notes, I'm a copious note taker. So in writing down your 3 V's, I went, boy, that was Jeffrey exercise V to the third power, and what that equals, because I was thinking formulas, V to the third equals victorious. So
That's
I
right.
can see what it is that you created is something that's going to end up being victorious. And that's a mindset too, because we're still in the thick of things and it can be overwhelming. But what you're saying, so many things we appreciate and we say too. And so we're cut from the same cloth, so to speak, in regards to what we're sharing with our clients and listeners as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, share a little bit about your experience as a business owner yourself and some of the challenges you had in first starting up the business and then trying to maintain that.
Sure. So years ago, I was approached by my father-in-law who owned a business, and he had a stroke. And he asked me to come on and run the business for him. And he had 4 children who were in and out of the business. My wife was the mainstay along with her brother. And so I came onto the business because I had a financial background, I had an operations background. And so what I did was I got the fiscal and operational side of the house in order. That was priority one. And so once we established all of that, it was a matter of making money. And so to do that, what I realized was that we were selling our products to a domestic client, but we had a growing global interest in what we do as well. And so I began to reach out to various distributors around the world in the UK and Brazil and New Zealand, where I had some strong customer base, as well as in Germany. And the family, of course, looked at me and said, that's not going to work. And when I started showing them orders that totally dwarfed anything that we were getting domestically, they had no clue. And so we built the international side of the business, and we took the company from really just struggling to extremely strong cash flow, 7 figures, and we had big plans for the company. And then we had 2014, we had the Ferguson crisis, which nearly closed us down. And as a result of that pivot, we had to go completely online, whereas we also had a retail business where we had to put that to the side because there was no way it was going to make money because of all the mayhem on the streets. And so we went completely online, and by going completely online, again, we built up that international clientele. We also made contact with international vendors. So I made contact with folks in China as well as in South Korea, who became very strong vendors for us, and we were able to build up our profits because we were able, because of negotiations that we were able to do with them. In addition, we had vendors in Africa who could supply us with some of the African articles that we were selling around the country. And as a result, we were able to weather that storm. And then, of course, came George Floyd. And so we got another storm, another series of protests. But this time we were able to take the lessons we learned from 2014 and the Ferguson crisis, apply them to this crisis, and actually profit from, again, the situation. And when I say that, we're not profiting from a crisis, but we were able to not only weather the storm, but see opportunity inside of the storm so that we can serve our community better. And so one of the things we did was we became a community hub. If you want to talk about issues of race, issues of things of that nature, and that drew in individuals who started looking around the store, looking around what we had. Guess what? They started buying stuff. And so once that happened, that was great. And then my wife, who runs the company now, started getting interviews from around the country. That also built our brand. And so she was able to do that and take the various African materials that we normally sell for clothing and turn them into masks. And that was probably her biggest innovation. And we had orders from all over the country, all over Europe, that were looking for these African masks. And we were one of the only companies that sold them and designed them. And so that was a big bonus for the company in light of the pandemic. So we learned from this pandemic, and we're able to somewhat profit from it.
Right.
Yeah, it's a great example of in any crisis, we've heard this so many different times, in any crisis, there's opportunity. It's being able to keep your eyes open wide enough to see what those opportunities are, and then to actually risk taking them and then committing to it. I mean, those are really important business tips that need to get out to our audience too, is being able to do that.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if your goal is to run a business, you want to make sure that you don't let the business run you. You want to have the right people, trained people, so that you can say, I run the business instead of the business running you.
Yeah.
Yes, that's key to what we do, Jeff. And we talk to our clients about their desire for having a commercial, profitable enterprise that can work without them. And that is, just hearing that is, for some of them, a huge awakening in thinking, wait, that could happen. And that comes with really mapping out how you can have more time to work on your business as opposed to in your business, which, for most people, it's heavy into operations, having about 80% of their time all tied up in that. And there's such value when you're able to carve out time where you can work on it and plan and strategize and synergize and look at long-term impact and sustainability. And think about also legacy goals. I just thought of that because it mirrors what you said in regards to, you talked about having a vision, but then when you went into the pandemic, creating a new vision for where it is that you need to go, and being fluid and responsive in order to do that. So legacy goals is something that keeps us also really tied to when things are messy here, which they have been, is to really look forward to what the future could hold, and again, maximizing that potential. I know, and I'm excited about what it is that you've been planning in the near future with the Business Alliance, I believe, Summit coming up that you're hosting. And I thought I wanted to make sure that we covered that for a few minutes. If your intention, why you're having it, what you aim to do for our community and having that. So if you could share for a few minutes regarding that, that would be great.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. So on January 21st at 8 a.m., College of the Canyons is hosting a business alliance. And of course, Paul Raggio is going to be one of the panelists. And the purpose of it, well, let me give the topic. It's 2021, Finding Opportunities for Small Business. And so Paul's going to be discussing what his organization, Action Coaching, can do and some of the expectations he sees for small business and the opportunities in light of the pandemic. And so he's going to be sharing that from his perspective. It shouldn't be difficult because he's always sharing that. And so we're looking forward to that. We're also going to be looking at the latest update from this new stimulus that has come about in the Paycheck Protection Program. So we have Catherine Grooms from the Small Business Development Center, who is going to be sharing information with regards to how companies can access that. And then we're going to have Jason Crawford, who's with the City of Santa Clarita. He's going to be discussing the Santa Clarita COVID-19 Relief Grant Program that extended $5,000 to 150 companies and nonprofit organizations, and how that has been going and what he expects to see in terms of helping these companies not only utilize that grant, but to sustain themselves during these very difficult times, and what the City of Santa Clarita is doing in addition to that to help these companies get through these very challenging times. And so the purpose of it is to encourage the companies to let them know there's resources. There are resources. Do not go at it alone. You will not make it by yourself. There are resources that are available to you to help you, to assist you, and to support you. And that's the goal of the summit.
And talk a little bit about who you're inviting to it, Jeff. And
Sure. All small businesses, large businesses, business of every kind, educational leaders as well, nonprofits, community-based organizations, no matter who you're, it's an open-ended meeting from that standpoint, because I think some of the principles and things that we will be sharing have relevance to all of these organizations, because we do want to see our small businesses thrive. And so there is a definite openness and expansion of the type of individuals we want to have at this particular event. And so we did not limit ourselves to just small business owners.
okay. And is there a website they sign up for this, or are you sending invitations out?
We do send invitations out. Also, if they want more information, they can also get with me on LinkedIn, and I could send them a flyer from our LinkedIn account if they are a part of LinkedIn, or they can also do it through the College of the Canyons and just look me up and send me an email, and I'll be happy to get that information to them as soon as possible.
Great.
Excellent. Hey, Jeff,
Good.
before I know, Paul, we're going to be introducing the subject that he talked about at the beginning of the podcast. Just knowing a little bit about you and your background, I thought I just wanted to hear from you if there's something that's helped you through this time, either a book you've read, a TED Talk you watched, a podcast you listened to. I don't know. I think with your mind, I know I want to know that. So has there been anything that's helped you in this last year?
Yes, and so I'm a person of faith, and so I would have to say definitely my Bible reading increased from that standpoint. That certainly helped me through. I find encouragement in that, and I'm not trying to be religious for religious sake. It's just something that personally worked for me. In addition, I also what really also helped was I tuned in to those who were on the front lines and really began serving my community by working with organizations. That helped me get through as well in terms of feeding those who were hungry. I'll give you one example. I was able to be a part of a opportunity that there was a family here in Santa Clarita, family of 5. They had lost everything, and we were able to buy them a significant amount of food and make some contributions to that family. Those types of giving opportunities help me see that there is hope, and it also made me feel good to be able to contribute to those who are in need. And so my faith, as well as working to serve others, really inspired me and helped me to see that even in the midst of all of this trouble, that we can still do good and um, feel good in doing it. And so that certainly was the two main things that I think help. And I am an avid reader. And so I would say that,
And author. And
yes,
author.
I do write a little bit, write a little bit as well. But certainly, there's been some works. I think there's a couple of books. One by Mark Emmer that he wrote. I believe it's called Momentum, if I'm correct. I've also been working with my daughter, who's gotten uh, interested in some works as well that are more on the inspirational side with regards to accessing your potential. And so I don't want to sell any books right now, but I'll just say books that help you access your potential and believe in something bigger than yourself. Those are the kinds of works that have helped me kind of along the way.
Yeah, I'm glad I
Great.
asked. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes.
that's great.
wonderful
Okay,
reminder.
I know you've been waiting for a while, Jeff, to understand what fish or cut bait has to do with leadership.
Sure.
So so let's share that. This is a past article we wrote and titled Fish or Cut Bait. And back in the 1800s, the big fishing steamers, they had two essential activities on the ship, and the captain directed it.
Yes.
One part of the crew fished, the other part of the crew cut bait. And they were interdependent. So you couldn't fish without the bait, and you couldn't cut bait without catching fish, because the fish then became the bait for the future fish to be brought in. So it's a metaphor in thinking about the tasks at hand that your workforce has to have. And I thought this would be really appropriate for you in terms of College of the Canyons, because when we talk about tasks, the Army was terrific at developing standards, and any military occupational specialty you have in the Army, you have a specific specialty that you have to perform your tasks to standards under any type of conceivable conditions. And that's how you get to a mastery position. I mean, you go through this training period, you develop the mastery position, you had to develop these other mastery positions before you can build up to the next level. And that's even true in the leadership and the different levels of leadership within any of the services, has this graduating effect about having to go through skills training before you get to that point in time. So I just wanted to uh, broach that subject with you, especially because I know you've been in education for so long too. And just imagine if we had workforces that were actually trained to the task, conditions, and standards that their jobs required, how powerful that would be in a business, and what it would mean to their output, revenue generation, cash flow, everything, if they were able to do that, and the team synchronicity that they would have as a result of that. Talk a little bit about that, Jeff. I know that's in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, that's definitely in my wheelhouse. The alignment of skill sets with the needs of employers is something that is really our value proposition from the standpoint of economic development. And one of the things that we see happening now is this, that as a critical skill, I want to separate technical skills, the things that you do from the things that you know, because there is a convergence there. And so let's say that a person is someone who, let's say this is a bottling company and a person runs a machine. Okay, that person has all of the knowledge on how to run the machine, but do they have the knowledge to troubleshoot the machine if it breaks down?
Mm.
And is there a way for that machine to be more productive or efficient in running if it ran a certain way? This is the point I'm making. You have the technical skill of doing the job. You punch the buttons, the machine does the work, and you just simply manage it. But then there's the idea now that what we're seeing now is something in which we want to train people to think critically. to ask this question, and that is, what can I do to make this job better, to make the company more efficient? We want to train people to do that. That is the critical skill. The core skill is, can I do the job? The critical skill is, can I make the company better as I do the job? And there's a third layer, and that is, if there was no supervisor, no CEO, and they gave me the keys and came and said, we need you to come in, start up the machine and run it, and you'll be there by yourself. Do I have what it takes to do that? Can I work independently, and can I think critically and independently as well, so that those who can trust me with responsibility can count on me not only to do the job, but to make sure that I complete the job, because I have also the skill sets to troubleshoot and do the other things that are necessary to ensure that everything is completed on task and in a way that will represent the company's commitment to quality. That's where we're starting to train people at now. It's not just how to get a job, it's how to do the job at a level of excellence where the company values you, not because you do a good job, but it's because you bring value to the company, because you go beyond the job to ask the critical questions on how you can make the company better through the job that you do.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
this is truly one of the things that is key to scaling a business, is understanding this concept. This
Yes.
is the difference between being a small business and going to the next level of being a medium business, is being able to place your finger on just what you were talking about, Jeff.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, I
and be
remember. Go
comprehensive in
ahead.
the planning, in contingency planning, and that's something that you're talking about, in succession planning. You know, we talk to our clients about everything that they can do to systemize and put it into a standard operating procedure, so that if an alien walked into your business, they wouldn't be able to run it like you do, because you have your own particular DNA that you've put there, but they should be able to understand and follow clearly what it takes to run the business. So we echo everything that you just said and what you do. And it also is a reminder to me, I'm so glad that you're in the leadership position that you are, because you really speak eloquently about what it is that, what I hear is being empowered. You know, having an empowered workforce that feels a part of in the military, they do a lovely way of having everyone feel that they're a part of a unit. And that work family can be a part of what you feel that you belong to, and what you uniquely can contribute to make run better and better.
Absolutely. And I think that as we look at companies today, we're going to see companies go from what we see, what has traditionally been hierarchical, to being more flatter in terms of how they run the company. And to those small businesses that may be listening to this podcast, especially, again, our restaurant and hospitality businesses, if you find a person that appears to take an interest, even a delight, in being a part of your company, you should do everything you can to invest in that individual. And if that individual is not in school, you should send them to school. If they need more information on terms of how to do an Excel spreadsheet, because you're doing an Excel spreadsheet, give them a class. Let them know that you noticed them. That's very, very important, because now what you have is this kind of crisis management situation in which people want bodies and they want people to come in and do things. But what they really need to also pay attention to is they need people to develop so that they can step in when that owner needs some time off or some time away. That's very, very critical at times like these, because again, you never know when you may need to step away from the business for a week or 2 weeks because something happens. You need that person to be able to step in and know that your business is going to be well cared for.
Excellent.
Can we get an amen?
Amen on a Friday.
Amen.
Amen on a Friday. Yay. Yes.
Amen.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's
Jeff,
terrific.
it has been a delight talking to you. How can people get a hold of you or learn more about all of your offerings? What's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, there's you can go to Canyons, to canyonsecondev.org and reach us there, or you can simply go to find me on LinkedIn. Just go to Jeffrey Forrest. I have over 5,000 LinkedIn connections, and so I generally pop up first. And so that's an excellent way to reach out to me. Also, I'm on Twitter, and you can also reach out to me through the Canyons, College of the Canyons website. Just type in my name, and you'll see my email, and just reach out to me that way as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Something that we do every single week in our commitment to support our small businesses and local businesses is we shine a spotlight on a company. And so we want to share with you some information this week before we close out. And this is in regards to the law offices of Renee L. Speakerman. And Renee L. Speakerman provides skilled representation and personalized advisement in the area of trust and estates. That includes estate planning, post-death advisement and administration, probates, conservatorships, and elder law. Whether you are planning with the goal of preserving and transferring wealth efficiently to your loved ones or dealing with the decline or death of a loved one, the law offices of Renee L. Speakerman offers solutions and support for you. She is the principal attorney. She's been in the legal field for 16 years, and she's particularly passionate about trust and estates areas of law because she gets to work one-on-one with clients compassionately and ethically. And she lives in Santa Clarita with her 2 young daughters and husband and loves the community and the feel and the friendly things to do with her family in the Valley. So her website is rlsestatelaw.com. or call 818-492-2533 for more information. And Paul, do you have any
closing thoughts? I do. But we encourage you to see Renee for any estate planning that you have. And we didn't mention it, but Jeff is also a director on the Chamber Board, Chamber of Commerce Board. And so we want to make sure that we broadcast that the Chamber has started a new program. I co-chair the Small Business Roundtable with Paul Butler, who's the co-owner of New Leaf Training Development. And we just had a virtual roundtable this morning. We have these monthly, it's the second Friday of every month from 7 to 8:30. And the format is we'll tee up an expert and they'll talk for about 15-20 minutes, and then we kick around the ideas with the participants about what the expert said and really share our own experiences and business challenges that we're having. I've got to tell you, this is a very impactful value proposition that I encourage. If you're a chamber member, it's free, take advantage of it. If you're not a chamber member, join the chamber. There are so many great programs going on right now from the chamber, from offering 401k to medical benefits to the Small Business Roundtable to some of the other advocacy programs that they have. Your chamber is really doing a terrific job for the business community, and we want you to become a member and a part of it. So that's what I'd like to share. And I don't know, Jeff, if you want to say anything about the chamber too, since you're a board member, that may be helpful, and then we'll close out.
Sure, Paul. I think the Chamber is an excellent organization that provides value to companies that are seeking to both locate and thrive here in the Santa Clarita region. They've been around for dozens and dozens of years, so they have both the expertise and the experience to help companies that want to that choose to do business here in the Santa Clarita Valley, and I highly recommend them. And if you haven't checked out the Chamber, I strongly recommend that you do so and become a member of it. And that will provide for you opportunities to network and to get your information out and to build your brand by working with other businesses. There's hundreds of businesses in the Chamber, and you'll have access to them immediately once you become a member. So I strongly encourage you to do that.
Great.
Okay, and with that, Jeff, again, thank you very much for an enlightening conversation and uplifting too, I will say, uplifting conversation. And to our listeners, we look forward to seeing you next week. We are so proud to be partnering with The Signal to bring you this on a weekly basis. We are here today, tomorrow, and the future to help you find your way. And to find out more about who we are, what we do, and how we can help you, please go to our website at onetruenorthcoach.com. There's information there in regards to testimonials and what clients have said in regards to working with us. We have created a COVID-19 resource page with information that helps organizational leaders and business owners navigate through ongoing turbulent times, but we're all in this together. And last but not least, we continue to offer a complimentary business diagnostic session. We strongly encourage you to take us up on our offer. There are no strings attached. You get a business background questionnaire. You get great questions from Paul and I. It gives you some really good thought stimulation. And now's the perfect time of year to be doing it. So take us up on our offer. Contact us at One True North. Go to our OneTrueNorthCoach.com website, and you'll find our contact information there. And we hope to see you soon. And with that, Happy New Year again. And here's to 2021.
And thanks again, Jeff. Thanks so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.